Hello Internet, my name is Kalika Curtis and this is my first ever video. I have nothing but scrambled notes and I'm very nervous. But I know that I want to start strong, and that's why I'm going to say right from the beginning, I am wide open to any and all sponsors. I'm not above whoring. In fact, this entire video is going to be a defense of whoring, so fear not. Whoring, it is said, is the oldest profession. I would say motherhood is, but whoring might be the second. It's kind of a chicken-egg situation. This is going to be a modest apology of Bonnie Blue and of Lily Phillips. What they're doing is not new. It's just that we have very short memories and we don't care that much for all of the outrage. We don't really care so much. I mean, the Catholic Church had brothels, for Christ's sake. But I want this to be, and then I want to read a story by Mary Gaitskill that is my all-time favorite short story. It's called Folk Song, and it's about exactly this act, the act of a woman having sex with as many men as possible in as short a time as possible. Because it's a symbolically loaded and charged act. People are acting like it's just some sort of vulgarity. It is a daredevil behavior. It is a, for all of the people saying that Bonnie Blue and Lily Phillips are degrading themselves and their bodies, and I don't disagree with that, actually. I think that's a fine take to have. I would also point out that she's also degrading all of the men, and men in general, and the notion of a romance in general. And in fact, something that both of Bonnie Blue and Lily Phillips do routinely is make fun of wives. And this is an undercurrent in the relations between women, where there are these women over here who are kind of protected from the bad behavior of men. Their men, their brothers, their fathers, their husbands, their sons. These are the mothers, the wives. And then there's the whores over here. And the whores know more about the husbands and the sons and the brothers and so on than the wives / mothers do. And when the whores say to the wives and mothers, look, your husbands are coming to me because they want to do stuff that they don't even bring up to you, that's true. And it's very strange to just kind of not listen to something that someone's telling you when it's so obviously true. These two women have a number of things in common that are quite interesting. They both come from upper middle class backgrounds. They're both white. They both had access to college level educations. Lily Phillips dropped out to pursue the adult industry. And Bonnie Blue had a very fine job that she said was boring as sin, and she didn't want to do that, and she'd rather fuck 1,000 guys in a day than do that. Again, another truth, actually. There's a perspective being said here where I'd rather fuck 1,000 guys in one day than work an office job, where y'all are just pretending like there's not a criticism. There's a criticism going on here. In the same way, when these women fuck so many men, they're saying to these men, you are nothing. Your dick is nothing. Your STDs, your AIDS, your all this, I don't care. You can't hurt me. And you can't hurt someone who's already hurt. People keep going on and on about how these women are going to be traumatized. I would say they're already traumatized. And it's the normal vanilla society that traumatized them to get to that place. They had nice lives. For some reason, these women left these nice lives and ended up here, or that's what we're meant to believe. We might want to look at other wealthy white women, like Marilyn Monroe or Britney Spears, two women who have not had that, they didn't have the happiest time. To envy them would be insane. These are two of, the most unhappy women who ever lived. They have a lovely golden cage, but it's still a cage, and they're crying all day long in it. Other interesting thing about these two women, which is very bizarre and strange, but maybe not, and worth considering, they're both managed by their mother. Both of them. The motivation for why they're doing this is money. People act like money is not awesome. Money is the coolest thing in the three-dimensional world. I mean, short of biodiversity. I would say biodiversity is probably the coolest thing, and that includes like all the different types of rocks, all the different types of plants, all the different types of animals. And that variety is also a variety and infinitude of consciousnesses, from other species to us, and the variety of that. What people are missing too is that these women don't appear to have the same value system as the dominant value system in society. And you should ask yourself, well, how does it differ? Well, they seem to think money matters more than romance. I've seen some interviews on YouTube and stuff like that, not interviews, like podcasts or like, I don't know, they're big preachy, lecture-y things that say that these women are disgusting, yada, yada. No mention of the men. The men are like a footnote, and like maybe every now and then someone will say they're disgusting, but no criticism of what are the motivations for the existence of the adult trade. And it's many different forms, because there's a variety of forms in the adult world. So, what do I want to say about these women? It's notable to me that there's no doctors on site or anything like that. That's I think there should be, because this is daredevil shit. So there should be like as many safety, meaning it's like Evel Knievel. Like, how many dicks can you take? It's Guinness Book of World Records. And if you're gonna say it's worth publishing someone's long fingernails or long hair or the biggest turd ever, or the longest legs, or even someone free soloing, or someone sailing around the world like along the Arctic, or anything like this, they're risking their lives too. So you want to say she's ruining her health, she's risking her life, she's risking her mental health. Yes, it's a daredevil feat. It's a brush with death. That's and it's also a stunt. It's a shtick to make her money. Okay? Them money. They're both managed by their money. Yeah, so that's weird. I would point to like Britney Spears, like I said, Marilyn Monroe, also Ivanka Trump, well, both Hillary Clinton. I mean, a lot of these, I don't know, I've heard rumors about Beyonce. I mean, a lot of these women, Rose McGowan, the whole Weinstein thing, the fact that Hollywood is a giant prostitution ring. I mean, I would point to the fact that privileged white women oftentimes seem to be in situations which would necessarily make you very mentally ill, and where their liberty and their freedom and their ability to choose for themselves is greatly reduced. They both claim to be in their early to mid-20s. Who knows? Yeah. So what else do I want to say? Oh, yeah, money's great. I'm open to sponsors. You can write me. They both claim to want freedom, and they both say that they don't care what people or society say. Lily Phillips talks repeatedly about everyone hating her, and that she chooses not to care. And I would say that this is an interesting capacity for consent that most people do not have, actually. And so again, with the differing values. Oh yeah, I've seen articles and videos of men saying that OnlyFans models have ruined their lives because they are now unmarriable. That's just so funny to me, as if marriage is some sort of great prize. Yeah, and what a bunch of losers. The main reason they're unmarriable is because they are too attractive and they're too rich, and that just makes little men's balls shrivel up and go inside them. And these giant Amazon women should get with these huge gaping vaginas that are as big and can take as much in as the entire cosmos are supposed to give a shit because, you know, I'll take your Milky Way and raise you. People act like what they're doing is the worst thing in the world. Yeah, we live in a world that's like got a military industrial complex. We got like mad wars going on all over the place. We've got huge homelessness problems. We've got CEOs and like wealth gaps and like, you know, all sorts of horrible things going on in the world, and even just in America. And I don't think that these women are a big problem, actually. I think they're minor. If you want them not to do this, you should offer them better options and understand their real motivations in doing this. Meaning there are other ways to be a daredevil. Are there other ways to make lots of money? Maybe they need to take courses with Warren Buffett, because making lots of money quickly, that also gets you high. Okay. These women are really only hurting themselves, and I don't deny that when I defend it. I'm not saying it's good or it's healthy. I think it's very broken and emblematic of the sick world we live in. But it's not new, and we've always been living in this sick world. And if anything, I would say that we're getting healthier and healthier, because at the very least, I'm hoping we become more conscious. Let's see, is there anything else I want to say before I read this wonderful, wonderful... Yeah, Lily Phillips said in the YouTube, you know, it's a stunt, she says she wants to be a conveyor belt. She's like, you know, the Marcel Duchamp of porn. Yeah, and all the women saying they're disgusted. I've seen a bunch of like YouTube videos of women acting like their disgust in her and their hatred and their dehumanization of them is going to make anything any better whatsoever. Like, it's actually these women who disapprove of Bonnie Blue and Lily Phillips, and men too, they're getting high off their outrage, and there's a sexual charge to that because they could be talking about other things. They're just one more in the fucking gangbang, honestly. So, yeah. So I just want to point out that, yeah, they are harming themselves and devaluing themselves, but they're also devaluing sex, men, penises, jizz, and the opinions of others. And I think that's something. I think that's something worth considering. Without further ado, for Lily Phillips and Bonnie Blue, Bedtime Story, folk song by Mary Gaitskill, from the short story compendium Don't Cry, published in 2009. On the same page of the city paper one day, a confessed murderer awaiting trial for the torture and murder of a woman and her young daughter was a guest on a talk show via satellite. His appearance was facilitated by the mother's parents, who wanted him to tell them exactly what the murder of their daughter and grandchild had been like. "It was horrible," said the talk show hostess. "He will go down in history as the lowest of the low." There was a photograph of the killer, smiling as if he'd won a prize. A woman in San Francisco announced her intention to have intercourse with 1,000 men in a row, breaking the record of a woman in New Mexico who had performed the same feat with a mere 750. "I want to show what women can do," she said. "I am not doing this as a feminist, but as a human being." 2 giant turtles belonging to an endangered species were stolen from the Bronx Zoo. "This may have been an inside job," said the zoo president. "This person knew what he was doing, and he was very smart. We just hope he keeps them together. They're very attached." The turtles were valued at $300 each. It was in the middle of the paper, a page that you were meant to scan before turning, loading your brain with subliminal messages as you did. How loathsome to turn a sadistic murder into entertainment, and yet how hard not to read about it. What dark comedy to realize that you were scanning for descriptions of torture even as you disapprove, which of course only makes it more entertaining. But naturally, I was hoping they'd report something grisly, you say to your friends, who chuckle at your acknowledgement of hypocrisy. And they did report something grisly, the grandparents of the murdered girl who wanted to know what only the murderer could tell them. You picture the grandmother's gentle, wrinkled chest, a thick strip of flesh pulled away to reveal an unexpected passage to hell in her heart. Then you have the marathon woman right underneath, smiling like an evangelist, her organs open for 1,000, an especially grotty sort of pie-eating contest, placed right beneath the killer, an open body juxtaposed against the pure force of destruction. Why would a woman do that? What do her inane words really mean? Will she select the 1,000? Is there at least a screening process? Or is it just anyone who shows up? If he had not been arrested, could the killer himself have mounted her along with everybody else? If she had discovered who he was, would that have been okay with her? Would she have just swallowed him without a burp? You picture her at the start of her ordeal, parting a curtain to appear before the crowd, muscular, oiled, coiffed, dressed in a lame bathing suit with holes cut in the titties and crotch. She would turn and bend to show the suit had been cut there too. She would ring walk before the bed, not like a stripper, more like a pro wrestler, striking stylized sex poses, flexing the muscles of her belly and thighs, gesticulating with mock anger, making terrible penis-busting faces. Might the killer enjoy this spectacle if he could watch it on TV? He may be a destroyer of women, but his victims were regular, human-style women, a concerned mother trying to connect with her daughter on a road trip in nature, the trip that delivered them into the hands of the killer. You picture the mother reading Reviving Ophelia the night before they left, frowning slightly as she thinks of the teenage boy years ago who fucked her mouth and then took her to dinner at Pizza Hut. Thinks also of her daughter's co-ed sleepover last week. Getting out of bed to use the bathroom with only the hall light on, peeing in gentle darkness, remembering grown-up pee used to smell so bad to her, and now the smell is just another welcome personal issue of her hard-working body, tough and fleshy in middle age, safe under her old flowered gown. The daughter is awake too and reading Wuthering Heights. She is 13, and she is irritated that the author has such sympathy for Heathcliff, who abuses his wife and child. What does it mean that he is capable of such passionate love? Is this realistic, or were people just dumber and more romantic back then? She doesn't think that the mean people she knows are the most passionate. They just want to laugh at everything. But then she remembers that she laughed when a boy in class played a joke on an ugly girl and made her cry. Sighing, she puts the book down and lies on her back, her arm thrown luxuriously over her head. On the ceiling, there are the beautiful shadows of slim branches and leaves. She does not really want to take this trip with her mother. Her mother tries so hard to help her and to protect her, but she finds this embarrassing. It makes her want to protect her mother, and that feeling is uncomfortable. She rolls on her side and picks up the book again. Thought and feeling, flesh and electricity, ordinary yet complex personalities, the like of which the killer had found impossible to maintain inside himself from the moment of his birth, and yet which he could erase with the strange compulsive pleasure of an autistic child banging his head on the wall. You picture him as a little boy alone in an empty room, head subtly inclined, as if he is listening intently for a special sound. In the top drawer of his dresser, there are rows of embalmed mice stacked neatly atop one another. At age 12, he has killed many animals besides mice, but he embalms only the mice because uniformity satisfies him. He likes embalming because it is clean, methodical, and permanent. He likes his mind to be uniform and inflexible as a grid. Below the grid is like the life of animals, sensate and unbearably deep. There are people who believe that serial killers are a fundamental force of nature, a belief that would be very appealing to the killer. Yes, he would say to himself, that is me. I am fundamental. But the marathon woman on TV would be fundamental too. She would not show her personality. And even if she did, nobody would see it. They would be too distracted by the thought of a mechanical cunt, endlessly absorbing discharge. However, with her lame bathing suit and her camp ring walk appealing to everyone's sense of fun, she would be the fundamental female as comedy. The killer could sit comfortably in the audience and laugh, enjoying the appearance of his feminine colleague. Maybe he would feel such comfort that he would stand and come forward, unbuckling his pants with the flushed air of a modest person finally coming up to give testimony. Safe in her sweating, loose, and very wet embrace, surrounded by the dense energy of many men, his penis could tell her the secret story of murder right in front of everyone. Her worn vagina would hold the killer like it had held the husband and the lover and the Sharpie and the father and the nitwit and every other man. His terrible story a tiny, burning star in the rightful firmament of her female vastness. Hell yes, she would show what women can do. In the context of this terrible humanity, you think, the poor turtles. They do not deserve to be on the same page with these people. You think of them making their stoic way across a pebbled beach, their craning necks wrinkled and diligent, their bodies a secret even they cannot lick or scratch. The murdered woman, in moments of great tenderness for her husband, would put her hands on his thighs and kiss him on his balls and say to him, "Secret, Paul." She didn't mean that his balls were a secret. She meant that she was kissing the part of him that no one knew except her, and that the vulnerability of his balls made her feel this part acutely. That is the kind of secret that turtles are, even to themselves. But now, all natural secrets have been exposed. And it is likely the turtles have been sold to laboratory scientists who want to remove their shells so that they can wire electrodes to the turtle's skin in order to monitor their increasing terror at the loss of their shells. You think, this idea is absurd and grotesque. It is even impossible to remove a turtle's shell without killing it. Yet with science, anything is possible. With science, rats have been tortured by electroshock each time they press a lever to get a food pellet. Rabbits have been injected with cancerous cells and then divided into control groups, one of which was petted and the other not, in order to investigate the role of affection in healing. Scientists do these experiments because they want to help. They want to alleviate physical suffering. They want to eradicate depression. To achieve their goal, they will take everything apart and put it back together a different way. They want heaven, and they will go to hell to get there. But still, there is grace. Before the mother met the murderer, her vagina had been gently parted and kissed many times. Her daughter had exposed her own vagina before her flowered cardboard mirror, bought at Target and pushed pinned to the wall, regarding her organs and with pleased wonder, thinking, this is what I have. And maybe the turtles were not kidnapped, but rescued. There are actually preserves for turtles, special parks where people can take turtles they have found or grown tired of, or rescued from the polluted, fetid fish tanks of uncaring neighbors. Or maybe they were simply set free near the water, wading forward together as the zoo spokesman had hoped, eyes bright and scaly heads, each with an unerring sense of the other's heartbeat, a signal they never knew to question. And maybe she didn't start the marathon in a gold lame suit. Maybe she appeared in a simple white gown with a slip and a bra and stockings and beautiful panties that the first man, hand selected for his sensitivity, had to help her take off to the sound of "the first time I ever saw your face." Maybe they even took time to make out, acknowledging romantic love and the ancient truth of marriage. It would be the stiff and brassy acknowledgement of showbiz, but deep in the brass case would be a sad and tender feeling. Sad because they could stay only a moment in this adolescent sweetness. They could not develop it into the full flower of adult intimacy and parenthood. But this flower comes in the form of a human. It must soon succumb to disease, atrophy, ruined skin, broken teeth, the unbearable frailty of mortality. The marathon woman is not interested in mortality or human love. Right now, the marathon woman has infinity on her mind. Roberta Flack's crooning fades, the first man mournfully withdraws, then the majestic pounding of kettle drums and brisk surging brass. It's 2001, a space odyssey. The lights go up. The silhouettes of naked men are revealed on the screen behind her bed, above which spins a giant disco ball. Men step from behind the screen and array themselves about the bed, splendid in their nakedness, even the ugly ones, like gladiators, poised to wade in. This one now, number 2, is very short and muscular, covered with hair. His face is handsome. His body exudes physical swagger, shadowed by physical grief. The woman cannot know that at 18 he was gunnery mate on a PT boat in Vietnam, or that time once ran a photograph of him posed with his machine gun, the brim of his helmet low across his eye, a cigarette sticking up at a jaunty angle from between his clenched, smiling lips. She can't know it, but she can feel it, the stunned cockiness of an ignorant boy cradling death in one arm, cockiness now held fast in the deep heart of a middle-aged man. Just before he enters her, she pictures his heart bristling with tough little hairs. Then she feels his dick and forgets his heart. He pulls her on top of him, and she feels another man ready to climb up her butt, while number 4 bossily plants himself in her mouth, one hand holding his penis, the other on his fleshy hip. The referee, a balding fellow in a smart striped shirt, weaves deftly in and out of the melee, ensuring that real penetration is taking place each time. The music segues into hammering dance music. Segues or segues, I don't really know. Into hammering dance music. The kind favored by porn movies. The kind favored by porn movies, only better. The music is like a mob breaking down a flimsy door and spilling endlessly over the threshold. It celebrates dissolution, but it has a rigid form and it hits the same button again and again. It makes you think of Haitian religious dances where the dancers empty their personalities to receive the raw flux of spirit. Except this music does not allow for spirit. This is the music of personality and obsession, and it is like a high-speed purgatory where the body is disintegrated and reanimated over and over until the soul is a whipsawed blur. It is fun. People dance to this music every night in great glittering venues all over the world, and now the women and the men fuck to it. They are really doing it, and it is chaos. The referee furrows his brow as he darts about, occasionally giving the roll-over signal with his forearms or a TKO hand sign barring a man who's trying to sneak in a second time. And because it is chaos, there are moments when the woman's mind slips through the bullying order of the music and the assault of the men. There are many trapdoors in personality and obsession, and she blunders down some of them, even though she doesn't realize that she has done so. Like the killer, she is now able only to occupy her surface, because extraordinary physical demands are being made on her surface. By turning herself into a fucking machine, she has created a kind of temporary grid, but underneath, in the place of dream and feeling, she is going places that she on the surface would not understand. What no one would guess about this woman who is having intercourse with 1,000 men. She's afraid of men. Her father was a weak, ineffectual man. His own weakness enraged him, and so his daughter grew up surrounded by his silent, humiliated rage. Her mother smothered her own strength in order to make her father look strong. That didn't work, so the girl grew up with her mother's rage too. She had no way to put male and female together inside herself without rage. This is the core of her fear. Her fear is so great that she cannot afford to recognize it. It is so great that it has taken on a thrilling sexual charge. Because the woman is courageous by nature, she has always gone directly towards what she most fears. When she began to have sex with boys, it was as if she were picking up a doll-marked girl and a doll-marked boy and banging them together, hoping to unite herself. As she grew older, the woman inside her became more insatiable, and the man became more angry. He became angry enough to kill. Because this woman is decent, she will not kill, but in deep sleep, she dreams of terrible men. In the worst of these dreams, the men rape and murder women over and over again, and they cannot be stopped. The dreams are so terrible that the woman forgets them before she wakes. They are still part of her, the male who would kill and the female he wants to kill. Deep inside, she is still trying to bring them together. And for one moment, down a special trap door, she has found a way. If the corporeal murderer who appeared on the talk show had been fucking the marathon woman at this moment, he might have had a feeling of anxiety, for she has entered the deep place of sex, and it is not a place the killer wants to be. This is a place without form or time. There can be no grid here. Even the shape of his closed heart will no longer hold. It will be forced to open. Sorrow, terror, hate, love, pity, joy, all human feeling will come in, and he will be unable to bear it. He will dissolve. His killing nature will be stripped to abstract movement, a bursting surge overtaking the weaker prey, the principle of pouncing and eating. In this place, all pouncing and eating are contained, because this place contains everything. This place is her ovaries and her eggs, bejeweled with moisture, the coarse, tough flowers sprouting in her abdomen, the royal, fleshy padding of her cunt. Some people say that nature is like a machine, but this is not a machine. This is something else, a million dark wombs giving birth to millions of creatures, wet and rank, eyes sealed blind with darkness, humans and animals, all forms derived from every formless entity swarming in boundless black nothingness. When male turtles fuck, they thrust deep inside their mates. They stretch out their necks, they throw back their heads, and they scream. They don't have to drop through trapdoors or travel down layers. They are already there. Animals want to live because they are supposed to, but they know death better than a human killer. Life and death are in them all the time. The marathon woman is more than halfway through, and she is tired. You are tired too, just from thinking about it. The theme from Chariots on Fire is on the sound system, but you are hearing a very old song from the industrial age called John Henry. It is about a steel driver of great strength who outperformed the machine invented to replace him. He won, but in doing so he died. The song ends, he laid down his hammer and he died. This song is not about sex or about women. The marathon woman is not going to die, nor is she going to win. She has no hammer to lay down. But she is like John Henry anyway, because she is trying to make herself into a machine. A machine can never be hurt or raped or killed. But no matter how she tries, she will not succeed in becoming a machine, because she is something else. So that is for Lily Phillips and Bonnie Blue. I suppose I'll end with the thought that the only portal into this realm, the main doorway, gateway, because I suppose there are amoebas that split in two, but for the most part, and there are 8, for the most part, one of the main portals into this realm is the vagina. Thank you for joining me.